English podcast. No.
I think it caught some of it, but since we've just ruined we wasted like 30 minutes of all our best material while we're setting up.
I swear to you, all the best jokes.
Yeah, we're going to have to do this like weddings where we come in with mouth veils on.
Yeah.
And then it's not until we need to
consummate
it with the
We're coming like Benedictine monks who cannot speak until the ban on speaking has been lifted.
Exactly. Because all our best jokes or not jokes necessarily, but materials.
But speaking of ish, man. English
You're fired. It's not just an English podcast.
But which one of the Englishes was fired?
We'll have to listen to tell.
You don't know. It's the English and English podcast. That's Eric.
That's Brett.
And we're going to double back on one of the topics you just missed.
So you won't really have missed it.
They won't have missed it.
We were too busy nerd raging.
Once more, about Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was about, mostly we were talking about, I don't remember how we got on it, something about the current
Something about
ones.
Cantina.
Yeah, they made an announcement. Of course, they keep leaking stuff for the new movie to drive hype and everything. And there's most of it's meaningless junk.
I remember what it was, actually. It was at the, in the Cantina, they have, like, special high-tech glasses that is, like, drink cups that is supposed to show you if the drinks have been roofied by other aliens.
Yeah. Very
so
nice.
You can't get, like, technically probed.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, it's important to include
Consent
these things.
counts even in galaxies long time ago.
Far away, exactly. Yeah. Like, you know, they'll show everybody getting positive affirmative assent in the scene.
Consent,
there'll be protocol droids there. New expansion of C-3PO's role as a protocol droid.
Human relations.
Right, yeah. Human sexual relations protocol droid. Excuse me, sir. You don't have positive consent.
Have you, this is totally unrelated to Star Wars, but we maybe even talked about this before. But have you seen that video where it's like, it's serious, mind you, which means it's a laugh riot and kind of like skin crawling at the same time. About like, if somebody made a vision, like a little video of like their vision of what it would look like, people like making out, giving like ongoing affirmative consent.
No, I have not seen this.
Do you like that? It's like, is that okay? Can I put my hand here? Yeah, just keep touching that. No, not that yet. And it's like
yeah. It's like watching two Asperger robots make love,
like paw at each other.
Right,
it's hilarious. And it's like, I guarantee you, none of those fucking people think that shit's hot either.
No,
they think it is, but not like their hindbrains don't. They've decided that that's what should be the way it is, but that doesn't change the god of biomechanics.
You get somebody who has problems with people interacting with them. So either they're not getting the attention they want or they're getting attention they don't want. And they don't want to handle it. So they want to make up some scenario that gives them power to say yay or nay because it gets a power boost. It doesn't actually give an attraction boost. No. It doesn't make things more...
it makes it a lot worse.
Yeah, it makes things a lot more awkward and less romantic and sexy. But at least they feel safe in that they have the legal backing of any time I change my mind, this guy can get arrested.
Right.
You know?
Which still isn't true.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, like, it makes them feel like because they can't just say, sorry, dude, I'm not interested.
Yeah, because they
go away.
Right.
You know.
Hilarious.
Or, you know, human beings of both genders throughout the centuries
have
figured out how to tell people sorry and polite.
The idea being, like, women could be pressured into doing something by a guy just, like, putting his hand somewhere and not specifically asking, and the woman won't say no.
Yeah.
But she would say no if he, like, simply asks.
Right.
Like, that's the thinnest about... Like, if she's that easily, like, pressured, she's going to be worried about saying no, too.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous.
Like, if someone had to ask for you to say, that's my personal space, back the fuck up...
Right.
Then you obviously are a pushover anyway, you know?
And if it's already in the midst of...
If you have to make a law to give you permission to say no.
Yeah.
You have to give a law to give yourself permission to say no.
Not even a law, but just like even if that's the standard or the protocol.
Law or a protocol within the...
Anyway, so back to Star Wars.
Right.
Before we start talking about
they made a news thing, or some article about some person who was involved in making the music for the Cantina scene. They're like, yeah, there's a new Cantina scene, which again made me immediately cringe. Right. This is what I'm worried about this new Star Wars, is they're just so... Everything I've seen is like they're mirroring too much the original one. Like, oh, look, desert planet.
Well, instead of trying to capture the spirit, they're just trying to like copy the movies.
Right, yeah.
Like, we'll have a desert planet, but
we're not going to mess up like the...
We'll have another Jedi who doesn't know their parents. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
You don't have to make the same fucking movie.
Like, you're going to... They were like, we're not going to mess up like the prequels. We're going to make it better like the original trilogy by copying them.
By making it exactly
beat for
like...
beat, exactly. But it probably won't be exactly that. We'll see. But there's still a lot of things that are too similar.
For no particular reason at all. Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the point. What was funny is that they mentioned the Cantina thing, and that got us remembering the Cantina scene that was digitally altered in the later versions by George Lucas.
With that stupid little pink blob thing, singing. Like,
well,
it was like a
two
fucking
Cantina
cartoons.
scenes got altered with the worst alterations.
Yeah.
It's funny that they're both in the various Cantina scenes. One was Jabba's... Well, not really Cantina, but Jabba's...
Oh, that's where the singing one was Jabba's Palace.
Jabba's Palace. Kind of a Cantina scene with, like, the singing... But instead of just being a Cantina band there, it turned into some cartoony musical with like a duck-billed aardvark alien platypus singing and like literally doing 3D at the screen voice.
George Lucas has to be a child molester.
Yeah,
there's no other explanation for like him liking this weird ass shit like that.
No, I think what he is he's developmentally challenged.
Oh yeah, he's either like fucking a simpleton,
right? Yeah,
or he's a pederast.
What's funny to me is. He is, like, number one proof to me that the muse exists. You know what I mean? Like, some guy hears the divine voice of the arts or something, or some idea from beyond him reaches him, and it's left him. Like, he captured something that made everybody immediately like, holy crap.
Well, it just shows that most people's ideas...
It's amazing!
...are not... Nobody's ideas are perfect. So we had some stuff that was really good, and then other voices came in and tempered the more ridiculous elements of it. And then when he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, it got too ridiculous.
Right. Not only that, it's just that the origin of certain ideas, like certain things strike. You know, like somebody invents Batman.
Well, it's just hard to imagine.
And it turns out Batman is what everybody loves for 100 years.
It's hard to imagine that the same person who wrote Han Solo character writes this fucking little fart bean thing singing in Jar Jar Binks.
Right, and then rewrites Han Solo to shoot second, which is the other Cantina scene.
Yeah, he goes back and, like, fixes the only good shit he came up with.
Right, and we were saying, if he had been allowed to continue, what's going to happen, or Disney continues, because Disney's worried about the slave Leia stuff.
Like, first of all, they have him shoot, and, like, he explained, they had some article recently about how he explained why it's important for him to be, to have shot second or something.
A more noble character.
Where he's just like, well, he's going to marry the princess. He can't be like this brute, basically. Is what he's saying. Like, what the
That's why
fuck
the princess liked him. That was the whole point.
Yeah, so it's like, so what are they going to do next when she's like, I love you? He's going to say, no, I love you more.
No, I love you more. Back and forth until he's frozen in carbonite.
Until she decides she's no longer attracted to him. And
right.
No longer goes to rescue him so they don't have to worry about the princess slave. Which is actually interesting, too. Breitbart just posted a very hilarious article. Unintentionally hilarious. I mean, it was serious and it was good, but it's just a good point that the like the slave Leia character or whatever, not that character, but that scene is like the type of stuff that feminists should be championing.
She kills the bad guy.
Yeah, like they take their eye off her for a second. She and they said like kills Jabba with basically her bare hands, and what's one of the more grisly, like visceral deaths in the entire trilogy.
Right, everything else is cauterized laser swords.
Despite the fact that she's just like basically a sex object to them. You know what I mean? Like, they just dress her up. And then she goes and fights alongside them. Doesn't matter that she's in, like, a bikini thing or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And all they can think about is, like, oh, she's being objectified.
Right, that was the whole point. Is that guy was a bad guy, caught her while she was weak, then as soon as the back is turned, and an opportunity strikes...
Well, showed an example of a strong,
she's dangerous.
And actually strong female character. It's not necessarily physically strong.
Right.
But just mentally resilient, quick and thinking quick.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, she went in there with a plan to, like, rescue a person. She obviously wasn't really that scared, you know?
Yeah.
Wasn't the case.
But just the fact, and it's funny because it's not even the fact that she's in like a revealing outfit. It's the fact that she's attractive and in a revealing outfit.
Right,
because you'll notice that, and this is so hilarious to me. Like, anytime someone is like naked and they're unattractive, it's empowering to women.
Right.
But if they're naked and like fucking the recent pictures.
Schumer.
I hate her fucking bloated cunty face. I can't even look at it. It's just like a big fucking potato, and I don't like her. Anyways, yeah. So for her to get naked is like empowering and good for women, but for someone who's actually attractive to get naked is somehow bad for women. Even though you're doing the exact same fucking thing, it's hilarious.
Right.
But I was reading somewhere else where someone said like, is there a better or / worse backhand compliment than saying someone's being brave for getting naked?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, you're so brave to take your clothes off. Wait, why is that brave?
Right, yeah.
Because you're fugly.
Right, yeah.
And no one wants to look at you.
What it is that everyone wants to champion mediocrity, you know? They don't want to admit that, you know, most people... I would probably even fall in this, you know, somewhere towards the middle, you know? I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not the most fit. I'm not, you know? But that doesn't mean I'm going to call it what it isn't, you know? It's like...
Well, people can't separate like having bad self-esteem with just being realistic about yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And accepting that you're not awesome
and
at
again,
everything.
Not
like some people are
it,
geniuses, some people are not. Some people are physically attractive, some people are not.
Not to dig into it too much, but just to kind of sum it up, because we've talked about this a lot, but a lot of it is because they don't have any way of measuring worth other than the physical anymore. There's no idea of like a good person other than if you follow the ideologies of the left and you're not a double plus bad think.
Right.
Other than that, you're either part of the herd or...
Well, just everyone wants to be celebrated for something.
Right, yeah.
It's not okay to just
and dumbness.
not, to just exist. You have to be celebrated.
Right.
Get your participation medal.
Speaking of that'll get to our next story. There was that one school whose name I forget, but I can probably link to the article.
Wesleyan College.
Was it?
It was
one where
something
the guy
Wesleyan.
finally said,
it was a small Christian college.
This isn't a daycare, it's a university. Get over the fact that you don't have a safe space.
Oh, triggered.
Right, yeah, exactly. Somebody literally came up to him and somebody going to a Christian school, right?
This is like an overtly Christian school.
Christian school.
Like where they go to sermons
So
all
it'd be
the time
like if you went to a Buddhist monastery or you went to an Islamic school to study their codes and doctrine, okay? It's going to happen where you get preached at. Well, so there was a sermon.
The funny thing wasn't even that the kid was went up there to argue a point of theology. He went up there to being this makes me feel uncomfortable.
That you talked about this sin or something.
Of not loving people. I don't forget. It doesn't matter
what
the issue
was. It was even the most milquetoast kind of sermon, not loving people.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a really hard-hitting...
Half the problem with current Christianity is that's all they worry about is the loving people part to the exclusion of morality.
And even that's too much because it makes people feel like they...
Even love everybody, love.
Everyone.
But I don't love some people, so...
You should have just dragged and upper punched that.
Right, yeah.
You should have been like that scene from Brain Dead where it's I kick ass for the Lord!
Right, yeah, exactly.
And it's flying.
They just need to bring back the self-flogging. Anytime one of these comes that's you're right, you have sinned. Hand them a whip.
Scarlet letter.
To flog themselves.
Self-flagellation.
Right. Beat yourself until
Beat
you no
your
longer
face.
feel... Yeah.
Beat the weakness from your frail body.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You will know peace. Alright, so we had some sort of weird technical difficulty that didn't actually... I didn't even have to tell you. We're just honest. Yeah. You wouldn't have never noticed. But we had a big section where we were talking about South Park and PC principle.
Yeah. Well, just in short, it's funny. Watch the current South Park season if you have it. Because they're all linked and they're all talking about this kind of stuff. They have an episode specifically about safe spaces and PC schools in a couple episodes, and it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
and
ridiculous.
That's all funny. But move on to some news stories or things circling the internet that have amused us. You had one about a Jeopardy chick, right?
Yeah, there's this thing it sort of fits in because it's people's reaction to it. The video is funny. There's this woman on Jeopardy who talks really strangely. She ends all her sentences. She's like, whatever for 200. It's something for 2,000.
She does the up inflection at the end.
But with the weird drawn out too. Not just for 200.
Yeah.
600. She's 200.
Like a really
6,
exaggerated Valley Girl
1,500.
thing. It would almost be parody if they weren't just doing it
if she wasn't just doing it.
And the rest of her
too exaggerated. Yeah.
It's
anyway, so it's haha, this woman talks funny. That was about the extent of it. Then I saw some article that some stupid feminist wrote that was everything to them there's just is evidence of the horrible patriarchy. And they were talking about how instead of focusing on this woman being intelligent and her accomplishments, they focus on her voice. And it's what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
This woman was, it wouldn't matter if she was a waitress at Denny's or the president. If she talks goofy, people are going to make fun of her.
Right, yeah. Unfortunate reality of things. If you do something bizarre, people are going to notice and comment on it.
So yeah, it was hilarious. Right. Because no one gave, it didn't matter if it was Jeopardy, it didn't matter if it was just funny because he was talking weird.
And it doesn't diminish their accomplishment.
It has nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with it.
This person's talking weird.
It's probably unfortunate for her. She probably doesn't like the fact that she's known for a funny voice versus winning or losing on Jeopardy.
I don't think she won, but I don't know.
Right,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I didn't even try to figure out if she won or lost because it has nothing to do with it.
It's happened to people of every gender throughout
history. It would make it
more
or less funny or weird of a voice if she was a loser or a success. It doesn't have nothing to do with it.
It's happened to people of every gender throughout
Just
history.
you
get on stage and you accidentally fall over or you get nervous and blurt something out and then everybody laughs at that instead of what you were there for. Tough luck. It sucks, if you get nervous and it doesn't make your showing as aplomb or precise as you would like, but
yeah, I just watched a long video all about fat people breaking things. It didn't matter to me whether they were rich and famous or not. Yeah. chair explodes under their ponderous bulk, and it's equally as hilarious. It was the best one. There was this
like
one
of those
where
like Vine collections, or
it was just a YouTube video, but it was just called Ultimate Fat People Breaking Things compilation. I was laughing my ass off because they're so lame. They're just like sitting there and there's like the chair will blow out from under. Or this one fat chick was on a trampoline doing a couple like tepid bounces, and she splits through the trampoline and it simultaneously like rips her clothes off.
Right? Yeah. Oh gosh.
Like, or not like anything bad, but like
no, but yeah, just still
like pulls
just
off
hilarious
pants
and embarrassing. Yeah.
Oh god. But they were all beautiful at their any size and healthy too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Of
course.
I mean,
we've always been at war with
we're
these
only
days,
laughing. Yeah, we're only laughing because of the beauty inside that's coming out. So
exactly,
strong.
the joy. I was actually snapping.
Right. Yeah.
And we've always been at war with East Asia.
We have always been at war with East Asia. Speaking of,
speaking of fucking with people who are like retarded and aspies.
All right. Well, hang on. Speaking of wars.
Okay.
So for you first, let's do that one because it sounds like a shorter one.
It is short. It's just the how Vox is always using, like when he realizes that people are going into rhetoric and
the train is fine.
Have you seen the original skit?
Only after the fact later, where
me
like
too. But it's hilarious
thing where a guy is like supposed to be an Asperger's.
Well,
or
the joke is that he's the autistic reporter, and they have him sent to go report on this incident where a person was like run over, like murdered by a train, like just obliterated. They got run over.
Only worried
and he's worried about the train, and he's like, a person was on the tracks and was like exploded. And like, luckily, due to the train's steel chassis reinforced, it was able to. The train is fine. They were able to wash the blood off, and it's fine.
Right.
And so he's asking everyone, and they're like, "Yeah, this will be closed down." He's like, "But the train is fine, right?" And they're like, yeah, the train's okay. The person is dead.
Yeah, exactly. But the train
so
is fine.
You heard it here first. The train is fine.
Right. Yeah.
So he uses that as when people are just not getting the point.
What's funny
and
is
going on, or just being like rhetorical, just be like, "Don't worry, the
I
train's fine."
I pretty much used that recently.
We can use different examples.
Online argument
fun.
with somebody over I think it was like a video game forum I was on, and dumb stuff, and like some guy was totally missing the point that I was making. So I just said, "Oh, it's people leave you, like, oh, by the way, here's why you're wrong," and or I said, "Here's why you're wrong," and by the way, do women leave you because of your small penis or your crippling Asperger's? And he's like, well, I came back with 5-paragraph response. And I said, so it is Asperger's, poor thing,
Like ignore everything they said.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the Asperger's then. I'm not saying you don't have a small penis.
Right, well then he came back with, well, thanks for implying I have a big penis. Like, technically your logic is as bad as your social skills. You can have both a small penis and just because they leave you for the Asperger's doesn't mean the penis is large.
Yeah, exactly.
So the train is fine, man. The train is fine.
Don't worry, the train is fine.
It's so beautiful.
See, I prefer the Mike Cernovich method of just shotgun blasting insults and seeing which one hits, and then just
hit that
attacking that relentlessly. I was doing this one on Facebook to the guy. It just got like sad. I was like, dude, please stop! I can't do this anymore. Like, this was
I don't
want to
keep beating
you. Too pathetic.
Right? Yeah.
And I like this call out. Oh, it's terrible because it was about something to do with police, and this guy was just being a big bootlicking cop apologist for everything.
Right.
And I just said something about, I don't know, I just started making, like, I realized he wasn't, because he was refusing to, like, actually read what I was writing, respond to the actual argument. Like, people have terrible argumentative reasoning. And once I figured that out, I just decided to either break off or just have fun with them by fucking with them. So in this particular instance, I decided to start fucking with them. But I said something about, like, this is making fun of him for having a dad bod, and saying something about, like, his wife leaving him, and it turns out that is what happened or something. Yeah. Or he said something about like after my divorce, and just talking about all this personal stuff, and I'm like, all he said was divorce, and he was like, I've been fine ever since the divorce, and I was like, so how did it make you feel that she cheated on you? And he was like, to be honest, it didn't bother me. Like, he did. First of all, he did cheat on her, and then he was like, to be honest, it's pretty fine. I'm happy now.
Why would you bring that up though? How's that?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't relative. It just pushed one little button, and the floodgates open, and it was just like pathetic. And he's talking about all his issues, and how he's perfectly fine with his dad bod because he's happy where he is with his life, and then getting cheated on by his ex. I'm like, dude, shut up! What the fuck, you pathetic
Let's go back
sack.
to the British, stiff upper lip. It's all very private now.
Yeah,
they're there.
Like, oh, it's pathetic.
Gosh,
it wasn't even fun anymore after that.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
not robbing my hate. It's all I have.
Right? Yeah. It's some point you're just like stop hitting yourself lazily, beating this guy with their own fist.
These people, they think that you're mad.
Yeah.
So when you're not, it's hilarious.
It's much worse.
Yeah, because they don't know that I'm sitting over here like laughing at them.
Right. Yeah.
They think that I'm like mad and stuff, which makes it even funnier.
Anyway, back to where I was saying, and probably the longer topic here. But just so you know,
so
the train is fine.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
The longer topic.
Yeah.
Our dicks.
The weightier, the longer and weightier topic.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Their dicks are like swinging around, knocking shit over.
Yeah. Couple things about recent terrorist stuff and everything, or supposed or claimed terrorist thing. There's 3 or 4 topics here. Let's go with the first one as the Planned Parenthood shooting.
Yeah. Do you see that guy identifies as a woman?
Yeah, I don't know if that was a missed typo, like when he signed up as a voter, he clicked the wrong box, or if he
there was some
identified
other
as a
evidence. I didn't read all the details, but apparently there's more than just that.
What's so funny to me about this whole thing is that it went back and forth in the first 30 minutes, hours of it being reported of Planned Parenthood shooting was the immediate thing, and then people were like, wait now. It actually is happening at a bank and a Planned Parenthood.
Right. But apparently it wasn't at the bank. From what I heard later, that it really never was at a bank.
Well, some witnesses saw people, but it might have been that the cops were taking refuge in the bank.
Right. Or they got reports of it.
Or they got reports of it and it were wrong. So anyway,
or someone called from the bank or whatever.
And also the wounded were at the Planned Parenthood. But what's so funny is that the story about this guy is ever more pointing to a disturbed individual, because he was living by himself in a shack.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Everybody who talked about him, family members and ex-wife, said he had coherency problems. Like when
he
you
was
would talk to
dementia
him,
and stuff.
when you would talk to him, he would change the subject constantly, and
just ignore
just say random things, and then on top of that, all of the things that immediately on Twitter, Planned Parenthood and everything said something clearly an attack against and the actual news story from NBC News, CNN, everything else was that nothing was said during the shooting that anybody reported on. The cops, an anonymous source within the police department, said that he said something about baby parts, no more baby parts, during their interview after the arrest.
Right.
After they got
only evidence had anything to do with it.
Only evidence had anything to do with it. Now, it's probably true that he targeted that place for some reason.
Right.
But to say that it's domestic terrorism is what I'm getting at is absurd.
Right.
Unless this guy's part of some organization that is planning attacks on Planned Parenthoods throughout the country, it's probably just a disturbed individual. Even if this person was totally motivated by a hatred for abortion,
I don't think they were.
That's not domestic terrorism.
Had no history of that. It's just when these people that disturb, they pick on something. Whether it's Jodie Foster has to be killed because of whatever, or
the guy
Ronald
who killed
Reagan.
the black churches, shot up the black church, they call it domestic terrorism because it's pick something that's against the narrative, look at this hatred that you're not supposed to have or something. And it's look, it's just murder. His motivation may have been not gained, but just, I dislike your face.
Right.
But it's still just murder. Terrorism, by the definition of the word, has to have a political motive. And we've softened that and obliterated that meaning to terrorism means nothing now when we call this
terrorism is based on they do it now based on the action and not the motivation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
If you set up a bunch of, the guys in Die Hard would be terrorists nowadays.
Right, yeah. Anything with
really
sufficient body count, anything that is not a directed, murder for... Well, basically, at this point, anything that is not robbery is terrorism.
Yeah.
Any murder, any death or attack, any violence that is not
unless it's
robbery,
gang-related.
Unless it's gang-related,
right.
Well, even that's going to come to my next thing, is that there was an interesting article I read, found while digging around to look at, statistics of terrorist attacks. And this whole data is probably, I guarantee you, colored by the loosening of what constitutes terrorism over the years.
Considering all sorts of bogus things.
It was an article using data from 1980 to 2005 from the FBI database about the number of terrorist attacks. And, of course, they were trying to posit that Islamic terrorism counts for far less than you thought, and domestic terrorism is more. And...
In what? In the U.S.?
In the U.S. specifically, not in Europe and everything, because that doesn't hold up at all.
How many actual domestic terrorist incidents that there
here's the breakdown.
They're going to say the DC sniper was domestic terrorism.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It didn't give specific incidents. That's why I said a lot of this, I guarantee you, is the softening of the idea of terrorism. Because here's the breakdown. It's actually it still goes against the leftism kind of thing.
Right.
42% Latino. So drug cartels.
Yeah. So
drug cartels and drug gangs.
Again, that's not terrorism.
That's not terrorism.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it could be because their political goal is to open the border to their trade.
Yeah,
okay?
but they're not doing it
but
to
they're
the
not
people
doing it,
like, to try and get the country to do
They're
anything.
doing it to their
rivals
and to people who are in the way or for profit motive.
They're trying to instill terror.
They're not
in those
doing it
specific
saying
people,
if the American government doesn't open the border to our cocaine, we will keep killing. They're not that overt about it. They don't care that it's illegal to move cocaine.
Right.
They just don't want anyone to stop them.
In fact, they probably prefer it be illegal because
as long as they just don't get
otherwise
caught.
they wouldn't get any money.
It drives the price up.
Right.
The other next one, 24% left-wing extremist groups. So communism and other socialist kind of groups.
Which say?
Left-wing extremist
Oh, yeah,
groups.
of course.
Just a grand category of left-wing
Which is like
group.
people trying to release chimps and stuff from testing facilities.
Again, they could have a really soft idea of terrorism, and so it's like, like people releasing chimps or like doing vandalism
to
for
SeaWorld.
eco-terrorists, or something like that. 16% is other, which means all random affiliations, Basically, what's so funny about this is all the things that everybody's so mad about, like with the Planned Parenthood, like, they're advocating for the killing of abortions, these right-wing murderous bigots. They can't even label them. It all falls under other.
There's so few of
it.
Really
the actual white supremacists happen so infrequently that it's in the 16%.
They don't have its own category.
Doesn't even have its own category.
Right.
Jewish has a higher category.
There
are Jewish Zionist extremists that do stuff in America is 7%.
Often enough to have their own category.
More
so than the
communists have their own category, separate from left wing at 5% and Islamic at 6%.
But the right wing extremists
are lumped in other.
Yeah, because there's not enough of them.
Now, and so the whole point of that is, again, I think these numbers are deceiving because if they're counting Latino as the largest terrorist group, that's because they're counting drug and cartel crimes
and gang stuff
as terrorism, which is not
machete
correct.
Attacks. Well, it's not when you come into why are we tracking terrorism and what are we planning on doing with the information? Doesn't make sense to include that because that's not really what it means.
Now, reading about
even though
Europe,
pedantically you could say does their actions technically fall under what could be described as terrorism? Maybe, but the whole point is why are you collecting this data?
Say anything that makes people scared.
Right. Same with the sexual assault. It's wrong and it is a sexual element to grabbing someone's ass on the train. But the reason you collect data on rape and whatever is for a specific reason, and lumping that in doesn't help.
Doesn't help you stop rapists.
Yeah, exactly. Or give you a good idea of what's really happening. You want to know what's really happening.
Yeah.
And lumping it like that doesn't help you.
Exactly.
What's interesting though is for a lot of regular crimes, I've heard that at least in the past, the FBI specifically has kept Latino numbers like they consider them white. For normal crime statistics, not necessarily for terrorist activity.
Well, but
for murders and stuff.
These numbers and this is what I wasn't able to dig fully into because it didn't show that much in the article, and I didn't have enough of it. I didn't have a chance to read all the separate things they were the data that sets they were pulling from.
Yeah.
But it may be only organizations, so maybe 42% are Latino organizations, so they're not counting individual crimes. But, of course, a lot of people try to call these individuals
But still, my point
acts.
is being that they consider them Latino organizations and not white.
Yeah.
Because if those same people committed individual murders, they count them as white.
Right.
Or at least they have for years. Maybe the last year or two they finally
But this was
changed.
old data, 1980 to 2005, so maybe that's changed since 2005 in the past
But even
10
so,
years.
that'd be pretty damn late to start counting Latinos white, or stop counting them as white.
Right. And, anyway, the other thing is in Europe, what little research I was able to dig up that seemed, not just bent one way or the other trying to prove a point. Right. Or even the ones that were trying to prove a point still proved something. They were once trying to prove a point that Islamic terrorism is not as big a deal as people think, right? And they were saying that, homegrown terrorists are more in Europe. Well, it was all separatist groups.
Right.
Basically, because basically it's their terrorism is the only real terrorism. Again, it's another group of organized individuals like the IRA who believes they're being ruled unjustly by a foreign person.
Right.
So that's happened throughout human history. That you could technically call terrorism. It's a group
it is.
That's got a political motive.
But again, that's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue. That's not a foreign body coming in, and as soon as you get a small percentage of them in there, they start recruiting amongst their members.
It also doesn't affect whether or not the things people are saying about the Islamic people are true or not.
Right,
it has nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with it,
right.
Exactly. Anyway, all that to be said, because, that's one of the things that's making the rounds these days. Yeah. It's like these memes, because of the Planned Parenthood shooting and people wanting to shame people for being worried about migrants being a security issue. They're and refugees from Syria and stuff like that. They're all making these memes like this is real terrorism, these bigots from in the right that hate abortion. It's like, look, You just told me it's wrong to hate all Muslims for the actions of 8 Muslims that planned together an attack in Paris. But one nut job in Colorado, who isn't part of any organization, it's okay to judge all people who support Trump or something, or that go to church.
Speaking of which, it reminds me of like using like these data like that. Like he posted some meme about how like black people commit murder like 10 times the rate, and they were like, "No, look, these figures are wrong. It's 7 times." And they're like, troll face. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, whoops. Like, they get him to come out and be like, well, you said it 7 times more.
I stand corrected. Black people correct me on.
Wow. 7 times more.
An inconvenient truth.
And they're like, troll face.
Yeah.
So hilarious, dude. Playing like a fiddle.
Yeah. God, it's hilarious.
Oh, man.
Speaking of that dumb stuff, this also in the terrorism thing. I love trolling
people with Trump stuff. Because you know what's funny? Is not to cut you off, but...
Yeah, but go ahead real quick. But this is another rich vein here, so... This
okay, well, I'm just going to say real quick then, is that there's a lot of so-called conservatives are like, I really don't like Trump, he's an asshole and everything. And they try to like disqualify him personally and then support like him being, as being a good candidate. And I'm like, I'm pretty much the opposite. Like, as being fairly libertarian and not liking government control of almost anything, there's not many people that I agree with him on policy. And so I'm the opposite. I like Trump because he's the perfect asshole.
Right. Yeah.
He and not necessarily because of his... Like, he's way too much of a statist for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he supports government power, just like most other politicians and stuff do. Not necessarily to do the same things, but, like, I just think that the government should be doing very little, and almost no one really agrees with that. No one who's going to be in the running for president, certainly.
Not these days.
But I made a list a long time ago of people who just are just like super, basically alphas for lack of a better word, and just seem to have like, they're just winners, but it's the better term. And they just bend the universe to their will through like just irrational self-confidence and everything. It's like him, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Cruise, and a couple other people.
Yeah, they just got an iron spine and just don't back down.
Frame control and everything else. Like, they just master it. So it's great to see, because they're just winners, and that's what they do, is win. Like, regardless of why his politics are not perfect.
Yeah. And what's so funny about it is people don't get that.
Trolling people with, like...
Is that what we need right now is someone who's got enough of that attitude to not be bent... Who's got a chance to win, has enough of that attitude not be bent by the rest of the political machine.
As cliched as it is, and I know it's a tagline, but even he's saying, like, America's forgot how to win. And I'm not even talking about politically, I'm just saying, like, Americans. Like, this fucking pathetic dude who went up in his class to say that he shouldn't...
You should stop talking because
that made me feel bad.
Right, yeah, exactly.
God! Right. No one knows how to be winners anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible.
Yeah, milk toast.
Yeah, everyone's pathetic.
But anyway, speaking of milk toast,
like, I'd rather
pathetic. Bill Nye has reared his stupid head again, ruining our childhoods with his late in life stupidity.
Yeah.
Some article
we
again.
Talked about his race thing already.
His what?
The race thing. We already talked about that.
Yes. Yeah. Like there's no scientific evidence of race.
So there's new shit.
Yeah. Now he's going around saying we need to address climate change because climate change contributes to terrorism, and that's
I heard that one. Yeah,
like
these people are just sweating their asses over there, and they just have to kill
water
people.
shortages are driving their desperation, which is causing their terrorism. And that's why it's really about climate change.
What part of his mechanical engineering schooling covered climate change?
The part that gets him grants and money for speaking at left-wing groups.
He doesn't do any research.
No, but they pay him to be a speaker now. Like, make the rounds on...
Yeah, he's a politician. He's
not a make the rounds on The View.
Bill Nye, the politics guy.
Bill Nye, the bootlicking guy, like, he knows what hand feeds him.
Yeah, the reach-around
Smell
guy.
the glove.
Yeah, exactly.
Smell the glove, Bill Nye. Right, yeah. Or what... Wasn't it Smell the Glove was in... that was... Spinal Tap, like
okay.
That was the
name of their album.
Name of their album, and it was a picture of like a woman on all fours with a leash, and there's like
glove.
a leather glove being held to her, like smelling for some reason. Yeah. It's like
obviously
didn't make any
of
sense.
What? Not really sure.
Not really sure, but it like everyone hated
really
it because it was very like lurid and like submissive looking. Right. So like everyone's like, this is very provocative. So I just love saying like, smell the glove, like you know who you serve. You know?
Is that why they went with the black one?
Yeah, then they had going with just all black.
How much more black could it be? The answer is none.
None black. Yeah, they went totally black covered. Yeah. The publishing house wouldn't do the producers wouldn't do that picture for Smell the Glove. Yeah.
I want to see if I can find if they have. There's got to be a picture of that somewhere. Smell the glove.
It's just like lick the boot or anything. It's a more obscure way of saying that. It's just kind of funny. It looks like that's not what they meant when they made the movie. But the reason
it was supposed to be obvious that you would think of that.
Nobody knew what the lyric was supposed to be that it was said, but the studio didn't like it in the movie because it looked like they were telling somebody to be a good dog,
right?
So it's a hilarious way to say it, like smell the glove, like be a good dog.
They have it right here. That's funny. Funny stuff.
Yep. I mean, honestly, there's not even more to say about that, despite I said it's a rich vein, because it's so patently absurd, you know?
Right.
I mean, yes, I will grant you that throughout history, famines and droughts and stuff had led to conflict. As places in the world run short of supplies, they attack those with supplies, you know? Yeah. Or they fight amongst each other for the supplies. But that's not what's going on there. No. Not at all. Like, that place was already in that physical state of... You know, it's been the political destabilization of the stuff due to all the various countries mucking about with their political structures, backing this one versus that one, that allows these third
And these are the same people that think that they're so fucking enlightened that they would, if they were to go back in time, they would be the one person in their medical class who would be like, there's no such thing as humors and biles. I'm not sure what it is, but this isn't right.
Yeah.
And like, okay.
Right, yeah.
Idiots.
If you were raised in the Middle Ages, you would totally think different.
Yeah, you would totally be way more enlightened than that. Like, you're genetically identical to all these same people.
Right.
And if you went through that shit, you'd be just as, probably more fucked up.
You'd believe what you were told just as much as you do now.
Burn the witches, just like you're saying to burn the...
And what's so funny to me about all this stuff, like, this is just pissing me off greatly these days, because it's making the rounds, and I'm sure I've strained some familial and friend relationships with comments on Facebook. I haven't even done that many. But,
because if you strained it with shit like that, they're not a real friend anyway.
Right. Well, I'm saying familial ones, which they are real family. But I literally jumped on some family members thing about something about I want to help the migrants or the refugees, you know, look at these poor people, and I'm like, God, you know, how I just couldn't hold it in, and I said something which was a long, overblown paragraph, which was the wrong way to do it because it's not going to sway people.
Yeah, it's just use rhetoric.
Well, I was pretty much using rhetoric, but I basically just used the rhetoric of, we have homeless, unemployed, veterans, and normal people here who we're not paying for. Let's start paying for foreigners while we're leaving our own people to starve. You're right. That's totally Christian, you know, because they, of course, were taking it from some aspect of how, the good Christian thing to do is take these people in. And the other thing that people don't realize, not the people I'm talking about now, but other people who, on the left, let's say, secularists who think we should need to help these people. It's like, look, it would be good if we could help these people if there was a good way to do it.
Right.
But inviting someone into your home and making them live here for the rest of their lives is not the way to fix their country or solve their problem.
Yeah.
You know, the real way would be to go over there and help them solve the problem. But we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
they try to deal with the symptom.
Right. And not only that, though, it's you do realize that in this country that's so proud of itself for passing gay marriage and being being non-anti-Semitic, you're going to be importing a concentrated group of anti-Semitic homophobes.
Right.
You know, they stone people for this shit over there.
Throw them off buildings.
They throw them off buildings.
Yeah.
And not just ISIS. ISIS is just the one with the balls to do it. These people disapprove of those lifestyles.
Yeah.
They
exactly.
don't. It is against their religion to live like that, and
that's
they will fight for that legally, if not physically, when they get here.
That's why my favorite thing now is just talk about winning and post Trump dance gifts. It totally fucks their people, derails them completely.
Yeah.
I'm like, just talking about winning and post the one where he's they have the Hotline Bling dance, but with Trump's face over it. And then on SNL, he actually did the dance, and now there's a real gif of him doing
I still haven't seen that, SNL.
It wasn't great.
I figured.
SNL
has not
these
been
days,
great
and it was
in general.
He was okay, but they're just not funny anymore.
No, they haven't.
Their shit isn't
I stopped
funny.
watching them for a couple of years.
None of the people are funny people. It's all just crap.
Yeah.
You look at any of the famous people, and none of that shit's... I mean, it's been garbage for a while.
Funny?
I didn't even ever like guys like Jimmy Fallon and Chris Kattan and stuff like that.
No, I think the mid-90s was probably when... what's his name? When Will Ferrell and everything, and slightly after he left, was probably the last thing.
And then was probably
because back when Celebrity Jeopardy was going on, and stuff
that was probably the last one.
And he would come back for some of those episodes.
But those are now, it hasn't been funny in probably 10 years.
Yeah. All of the writing had to be censored. But there was a brief bump. I liked the Lonely Island guys and some of their music video ones.
But I think they did all their good stuff outside of SNL.
Well, they did their good stuff and were imported into SNL, and then went out again.
Yeah. So that stuff was funny.
They were an injection of funniness.
So maybe Sandberg
with their digital
stuff, but...
right. But then the rest of the normal skits were not. Their digital shorts that they would do, instead of the live skits, were the funniest thing on there. Yeah. Whether it was music video or not.
Right. But the real, typical SNL skits were just no good.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you a single one that
Because even back when I was in high school, I always preferred Mad TV to SNL. They still have some decently funny stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Other than Celebrity Jeopardy and the digital shorts, I could not name a skit.
Yeah, because they're
I
not
couldn't name
funny.
a character or a skit other than stuff from the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, they never came up with any of the new iconic stuff.
Right, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so they just went down the crapper anyway.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good because the show's not good.
Right, yeah, exactly. I couldn't name you a single skit. Yeah. I'm literally surprised at myself right now.
But I haven't really been watching it.
I haven't really been watching it, but I mean, I watched here and there for a while, and then every season, after watching a season here and there, or most of a season or something, I could not go back and name, like within the past 3 years, 4 years, I could not name to you a reoccurring character or skit that like grabbed the imagination or attention.
Yeah, no, I can't either.
At least not to me, anyway.
Yeah. And not one that was
like the only ones I could say is the digital shorts, like and then honestly, half of their stuff was really just a way to promote their albums they were doing, the Lonely Island, where they get like Justin Timberlake to do the vocals. Like that was the best,
like Dick in a Box,
right?
And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Or like any of those ones, like I got diaper money or whatever. Like I'm a grown ass man, I got diaper money.
I threw it on the ground.
Right, I threw it on the ground. Yeah, like all of those were the ones that stuck with the culture and got repeated. Versus like in the past, Coneheads or something,
or like
made an impression.
More cowbell.
Or more cowbell.
A lot of skits.
Celebrity Jeopardy.
Right, all that skits.
I'm a nice people, and gosh darn it, people like me,
Yeah, Chris Farley and all that stuff.
Church Lady.
Right, all that stuff. All those movies, that stuff like Blues Brothers and Wayne's World. That was an SNL thing, wasn't it? Wayne's World? Like the character?
Yeah, those two characters. Yeah.
And like even Night of the Roxbury or the Superstar, like all those were made Ladies Man, like
there were characters and actors from SNL that gained fame with a shtick or
enough
a character,
and
enough to make
movies
off of
characters.
MacGruber was probably the last one that they did that with.
Was that an SNL?
That was an SNL character, and those were kind of fun. That's probably but that was again the same time as like the Lonely Island guys.
Right, those guys. Yeah.
Post that, I can't.
Not Will, but
Will Forte.
Forte, that's his name.
Yeah. And post that. Alumnus group leaving SNL hasn't been anything that I would be able to say, oh, remember that skit? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember that skit. I don't remember any of them. Huh.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of them for years.
Yeah,
it's not funny.
No.
I don't have a vendetta against them or anything, but if it's not,
well, that's the worst part.
Then...
It is neither loathing or liking. It's just
they're lukewarm, and I spit them from my mouth.
Exactly.
I would rather they be hot or cold.
Right. Yeah. That was an interesting, totally weird aside here because, but there was some person whose thing I read or listened to talking about like the meaning of that statement and the church that letter was addressed to in the Bible or that statement. Was a church in a city in which there was a spring. Okay. And he was positing that, the spring was known to have healing properties, and they would either chill the water or heat the water. It would come from the spring, and then it was depending on which thing you needed to be cured of. It was hot or cold. But lukewarm did nothing. So it wasn't like some people take that as meaning, I'd rather you be for me or against me, but if you're lukewarm, it's from out. Which there is a certain amount of that's true. Like moderates get in the way.
I mean, that's sort of the point.
I could fight my enemies. But I can't fight my.
You have to be dramatic one way or the other.
But also, it's the same thing. You can be hot or cold, either pushing. Either way, you have a lot of energy and are doing something. But in the middle, you are, on the fence. You are not helpful.
What were we just talking about? I was about to write something down to remember it, and I totally forgot while I was getting my pen out. What were we talking about just before this?
SNL, hot and cold, lukewarm.
Shit. Yeah,
and then from there, it was Trump and all of the.
Spit you from my mouth.
It was all the Trump winning things.
God damn it. I just forgot. Man, that's annoying.
Well, we won't bore the audience with us not remembering
my
what
head
we're going to talk about.
No, I'm going to have them sit here for 15 minutes while I think about it.
But anyway, I'll drop it back a little bit to Star Wars again because I have something here and I want to get it.
Hit me.
I want to get it
with your
on
knowledge.
The record. It's not knowledge. It's a theory.
Oh,
theory about the new one.
You're making a prediction.
I'm making a prediction.
A bold claim.
A bold claim.
All right.
And so I want it on the record. So when it comes out, we'll see if I was right. Okay. So the trailers.
Wait, what is your claim about? And I'll see if I
plot.
Okay, just a random plot point.
Plot point as what the trailer, of course, is trying to be secretive, but what is revealed from the trailer.
Okay.
And everything else like that. Like, so we know from, not the trailer specifically, but from the surrounding stuff that the new, like the toys are labeled this and everything. The new, like, Stormtrooper group is called, like, First Order or something like that.
Okay.
All right. It's like the group that the bad guy Kylo Ren or something is his name, with the cross guard lightsaber, who's the new bad guy. So it's his group, and the stormtroopers are called the First Order. And the shows in the trailer, he's got Darth Vader's helmet. He says, "I will finish what you started."
Yeah.
And
so he's probably his secret Sith Padawan or something.
Maybe. We'll see. Or an admirer who just, took up his mantle.
So finish what he started isn't trying to kill all the Jedi?
That's my guess.
Yeah.
The First Order given to the Empire, quote unquote, the clones when it became the Empire, was Order 66, kill all the Jedi.
Okay, so
the
First Order is to carry that out. So I think
the plot point is going to be there have been no new Jedi since Luke defeated the Emperor, because Luke went into hiding, and all Jedi or Force-sensitive people have been hunted by this. You must either join the remaining Sith or be killed.
Right.
And Luke has not been able to rebuild the Jedi Order. And so this new one, The Force Awakening, it's like, that's also in the trailer, there has been an awakening or something. It's like
the Force starting to get this in black people and women to become Jedi.
Right, yeah, something. Yeah, who knows? But basically there's going to be, I think that's a red herring. It shows him with the lightsaber.
I think it's the woman.
I think the woman is the character, and he's just wielding the lightsaber because it's the only weapon he has on hand in that scene.
Right,
I don't think he's a Jedi.
No, I don't think he's
I
think
that's a red herring. They're trying to psych us out.
I think the woman is going to be the one
because she's the one setting up with the exact same Luke style backstory. Like, oh no, a person on a desert planet living with droids, desperate to see the galaxy.
Right. Yeah.
But this time it's a woman, right. So how creative.
And it's going to be a totally new Cantina scene.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With a totally new song.
Right.
It's going to be like... Dun, dun,
but anyway. Yeah, R goes dun 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 dun. There goes dun 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 dun.
Listen to Vanilla Ice.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he'll be in the background explaining why this song.
There goes dun 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 dun, and there goes dun 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 dun.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I think that's going to be the premise: is that there have been no new Jedi. The bad guys have been hunting and killing off or forcibly recruiting all Force users, but now there's something that's going on, and several people at the same time
have awoken to
the Force, or somebody really powerful has awoken to the Force, or something like that, and so they're all chasing each other to get this.
Decided to use his Force powers to try and train, remotely train people with Jedi mind force,
or he's decided to take on a pupil finally,
something like that.
Han Solo convinces him you got to train these kids or they're going to be killed.
They're going to be wiped out,
and he believes no, there shouldn't be Jedi or Sith anymore. Last time they interfered with the universe and it led to the Empire, and he's like, no, but if you don't train them, they will go dark side, and something like that.
Dark side has all the cool powers anyway.
Right? Yeah, but who knows? And but yeah, that's my prediction, is that it's called First Order because the whole plot point's going to be around
finishing the directive
to kill off the Jedi, and as the last remnants of the Empire, and we'll see.
Interesting, cool.
That, of course, is if the movie that has nothing to do with whether or not the movie will suck.
Right.
No.
It could have that or not have it, and suck or not suck.
Right. Exactly.
There are 4 possibilities.
Right, yeah.
It has the plot point and sucks.
Right,
it has the plot point and doesn't suck.
My prediction is correct,
and
the movie still sucks. My
right.
prediction is incorrect, and the movie still sucks. My prediction is correct, and the movie does not suck. My prediction is incorrect, and the movie does not suck.
Right.
I think it will be, most likely it is my prediction is incorrect, and the movie still sucks. But
you don't think that's correct?
I know. I feel pretty strongly about this.
So you think it's correct, but the movie will still suck?
Actually, that's true. I think it is correct, but the movie will still suck. And I think it'll mildly suck. It'll suck less.
I think it'll be disappointing.
It'll be disappointing, but not suck. Yeah, it'll be less sucky than the prequels, but I think
that's not hard.
Yes, exactly. It's like damning with faint praise.
Right.
But I think it'll just be too cookie cutter of trying to capture the magic. And too fraught with
almost not taking enough. Like the first one went too ridiculous because it was him, so it was not even
it was just bad characterizations and bad motivations. Like the guy who's supposed to be Darth Vader needs to be a badass to begin with.
And it's changing the whole mood of it. Like it
was
just a kitty death.
Yeah, exactly. And then the new one here, I'm not worried to the point that some people are to write articles about it, it's anti-white or whatever. But I mean, they have a justification in that Hollywood is like that. So it very well. But I don't think it's that overt. It's just that they feel like
exactly. I think it's just these people have that as part of their mindset. I don't think they're going into this and if we make a black guy, then everyone will accept black people into their homes. And
they just get money because they have why don't we have any black characters?
Well,
you're right.
They're just true believers of that shit. So
right, and some of it doesn't matter. I mean, there was black characters in the young ones.
So in and of itself, it's not a problem. It's only when it's forced,
right,
for no reason at all.
To me, the whole idea of this black character,
they didn't put Lando Calrissian in there because he was black.
No.
They just came up with this character, like the actor. They put it together. Bam,
right, yeah.
That's no
and he
problem.
ended up being a
and
popular
no one
character.
gave a fuck.
Right, and he ended up being a popular character.
Right, and nobody gave a fuck.
Right, and so to me. It has that. I'm not worried about that part of it at all. I'm more worried about the female character for some reason because that's the one that seems like they're trying to force it. Is like she's another better Luke because she's a girl,
right?
Not for any
particular
reason
right.
that this is a better written character. They literally are writing Luke from all appearances,
right?
But this time it's a girl,
so it's cooler.
So it's more modern,
right?
And so that's what seems weak to me.
It is because it's not any. It's not like they just came up with this character.
Now, some of it, of course, there's little going on in the trailer that can tell me anything about this character, but everything they're indicating sounds like they're trying to make you believe this is a Luke character. They're wearing the same color of clothes, the same style of clothes.
In the desert, like you said, with
a droid companion, where they're scavenging parts,
It's like, come
where
on.
that shows them looking wistfully at leaving ships,
right, I want to explore the galaxy. Yeah,
like,
Jesus.
This is so mirror image,
right.
But this time it's a girl. Like, okay.
So
yeah. Exactly. That's the part that the whole supposed racism thing doesn't, whatever, man. It's probably going to end up being Lando Calrissian's son anyway.
Or something like that,
So in their case, he has to be black because it's a black dad. Imagine that. The racist horror black man has a black son.
Right.
But yeah, the other stuff, the lazy, trying to make you liked Luke, right? So now our Luke replacement has the exact same backstory.
Right.
Fantastic. What amazing writing.
Lazy bastards.
Right, exactly.
So that's all for today.
Yeah.
Go click on some links or something.
Yeah, click on our links.
Website.
There's the link for Amazon and other sales thing.
Kratom.
View our videos on YouTube as well. Even if you've already listened to podcasts on SoundCloud, you can just view the video there for at least a little while to see the ads and help us out.
And we're going to eventually...
And help like it on YouTube and SoundCloud.
And share it.
Jump on to like and share.
So we'll talk to you homies later.
Adios.